Chapter 3 focuses on sport and societal values. Social organization is the ways in which human behavior is organized so that people can function in social situations that are presented to them. Part of social organization is the culture, which is knowledge and artifacts that people share to guide their behavior. This can be language, beliefs, clothing, as well as values. Values are a part of culture and play a large role in guiding behavior of individuals. So the question being, do sports build character or characters? That's the ultimate question that we'll explore throughout the semester in various capacities, but we can start with values. The different theoretical lenses presented in the first chapter provide unique ways in which to examine sport. In this instance, in terms of values, functionalists argue that values serve to provide unity and conformity in society, which ends up benefiting everyone. While conflict theorists may argue that wealthy people dictate societal values in ways that benefit them. Finally, feminist theorists argue that these values are based on patriarchal, which are male and masculine ideals, that end up marginalizing women. Individual striving is based on the idea of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, meaning that people are self-made with little reliance on the government or others for amassing their wealth. We usually define success in America by assets and wealth accumulated. So in terms of how we think about this in sport, we often praise athletes and or owners who came from nothing, who were poor, who built their wealth and accumulated assets with little help or government reliance. So athletes like LeBron James, for example, Carmelo Anthony are the first two that come to my mind, who grew up poor and then made themselves into sport moguls. Competition is the foundation of capitalist societies and permeates every aspect from elementary school spelling bees to professional sport championships. We primarily focus on the winner, aka second place is the first loser, and many people do absolutely everything they can to come in first, even if it means cheating. Cheating the system in a business sense can come from embezzling funds to pyramid schemes and are certainly common occurrences. In terms of sport, you can see unethical behavior at every level, from forging birth certificates in Little League Baseball to recently the Kansas City Chiefs lost several draft picks because they were tampering with athletes during the free agency period in hopes to beat other teams in signing them. So not only do we like winning in American society, but you have to win a certain way. That means you work hard, you sacrifice everything, you put the sport first. And these are fundamental aspects of the sport ethic that dictates a person wins because they've worked harder and sacrificed more than their opponent. And this also permeates through other parts of society because it correlates with the myth that poor people are poor because they don't work hard, which is certainly not always the case. So this image here kind of shows you about the expectations we have for winners, or those who don't win because they're cowards, they're weak, and they're quitters. The emphasis here is on continual improvement that is measured in various capacities, including improvement of skill and techniques, setting personal records, setting team records, which are like games won, championships, setting records for the organization, etc. So there's constant progress so that you're not stuck or maintaining the status quo. Okay, the problem with the emphasis on this in organized sports, particularly at the youth level, is that parents have a tendency to push their children too much. The ends justify the means, so things like cheating to get ahead because you want to make that progress. Embarrassing the competition. So in basketball recently, there's a game that a team won by like 100 points, and then it leads to lack of fun, particularly at the youth sport level. Again, a capitalist society has emphasized success as represented by the accumulation of wealth. This also lends itself towards preoccupation with material items. The newest gear, the newest facilities, the newest technology, which all cost a lot of money. Contracts with the media for TV exposure, sometimes a lack of loyalty to fans, with the emphasis on profit. So the idea that the Los Angeles Rams just basically held the city of St. Louis hostage to have them pay for a stadium, but they didn't even care. They were like, forget it, we've got the stadium in Los Angeles, we're going to go. Leads to also strikes and lockouts at the professional level, in which billionaire owners and millionaire players argue over who gets paid a larger percentage of the revenue. External conformity refers to the idea that athletes have to follow these norms that are set by their coaches and peers. Coaches at the collegiate, high school, and youth levels, as we know, have a significant amount of power over their student athletes who may be attempting to get an athletic scholarship, to keep their athletic scholarship, or to make it to the professional level. And coaches are not afraid to use this power to exert influence over student athletes in a number of different ways. Many, not all, coaches emphasize that they're in charge and that student athletes need to respect the hierarchy of authority. So it usually goes, you have to respect your older players, respect your captains, follow what they say, the assistant coaches, and then the head coach. This leads to student athletes adjusting and accepting the power of their coaches and the power of this hierarchy. And they often follow the team norms because they're afraid they're going to lose their scholarship. They've been socialized to do so, and they're afraid to step outside that box and challenge coaches' authority. And we see this in a number of different ways, how coaches exert their authority. Like, for example, at the collegiate level, coaches can block. If an athlete wants to transfer, they can block who they're going to go play for, or they can block it just by saying you're not allowed to transfer, and that forces the athlete to stay at the institution whether they're unhappy or not. Coakley has argued that sport reflects societal values, and the sports that are the most important are found at the center of society. The sports at the center are primarily male and usually have the most media attention, and have the higher cost per online contracts, generate large amounts of revenue from tickets, merchandise, and sponsors. These are called power and performance sports. In comparison, the pleasure and participation model of sports reflects sports on the outside of society or the fringes of society that we rarely see covered in sport media, have few sponsors, and the next two slides go into greater detail on each tier. Power and performance sports emphasize speed, strength, aggression, and excellence through competition, playing in through pain, the importance of setting records, the use of technology to control and monitor the body, so things like blood testing, VO2 max testing, heart rate monitors, and sleep chambers. There are clear tryouts and selection systems. There's, like I said a couple of minutes ago, a hierarchical authority structure in which athletes are subordinate to coaches. So the coach is in charge, the captains are in charge, the older players are in charge. And then they also define their opponents as enemies to be conquered. So not only do you have to win the game, but you have to absolutely terrorize and beat the crap out of the people that you're playing. In comparison, the pleasure and participation model revolves around connections between people, mind, and body. In the spirit of personal expression, growth, good health, personal empowerment, democratic decision-making structures are important components of the pleasure and participation model. In addition, the emphasis is on competing with others as opponents who are partners to test skills, which is essentially the opposite of basically trying to destroy your opponents in the power and performance model. Values play an integral role in sport culture in that they provide stability and consensus. Since sport is a microcosm of society, capitalist values like individual striving, materialism, external conformity are often reinforced and rewarded through sport.